having the courage to do it. So I'll let you bring Doc on. I know you might have some other stuff to say down the road, but this is a big part of going to be Doc's show.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, Byron, we just want to once again tell you thanks for having us on. And no, honestly, we didn't ever believe we'd be on a Zoom call right now, but we couldn't be more excited because I actually may have been able to see the impact that you're having in other people's lives. And I just got to say one thing before I bring Doc on. As you know, our primary daytime jobs are pharmaceuticals, but I've got to admit that I've really never been involved in something, even from a pharmaceutical perspective, that I'm seeing more people being touched and more people with hope, as you speak of, and the results that they're already getting. And as you talked about, I know everybody's body's different, but this is something that we saw for months and months, actually a couple of years before you and I ever even met. We knew what type of effectiveness or how effective the product is. And even Doc himself, that everybody's fixing to meet, he was fortunate enough to get to use it about a year and a half ago before anybody even knew what the name was. And I'll let him share a little bit of that with you guys. But Doc is a professor of emeritus at a large state-funded medical school, and he served as one of our senior medical advisors on the Adafite project for several years. And I've said this about him before. I work with a lot of physicians, and I have for many years. And Doc is one of those physicians, if you had 15 minutes to live and you didn't know what was wrong with you and you was meeting somebody in the emergency room and you could say, you get one doctor, he would be the doctor that I would choose. So with that, I'm just going to turn it over to him, because that's what you're talking to here.
That's awesome. All right. Well, Doc, thanks for coming on and joining us, man, and taking time out. I'm very excited to have you on here, and we got a chance to meet on a Zoom yesterday and spend a little bit of time together. But let me start with this. This isn't, you've been a part of this, and you've seen how it works and consulted on this whole project. What is it that you feel you're most excited about this? Maybe just to start, and maybe just talk to people about why you're passionate about what you're doing here.
Well, when Trey first approached me about this, it was really just a kind of a casual conversation. He said, I've got this, and I don't know really if it worked as well as I think it does, and is it something that you think you might be interested in working on? And the field of weight loss is so important today. There's a statement from the American Heart Association that it used to be that they always said that the prevention of heart disease, the main factor that they would say, if we can change one thing, it would be to tell people to quit smoking. But fairly recently, they've now said, if we could say one thing, it would be prevent metabolic syndrome. And obesity is a big part of metabolic syndrome. So this is something that people all over the world are working on and trying to come up with solutions. And when Trey told me about this, I'm always somebody that says, well, we're going to have to do some studies, and I've got to see some studies that are show me that it's safe and effective, and see just how effective it is. So we started looking and seeing what the data was out there, and we did our own study to see what we could do. And the study that we did was really a little bit unusual. We only used the product 3 days out of the week, just on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we did a placebo group, and we did the active group. In the placebo group, nobody lost any weight. In fact, the average was like a half a pound to a pound weight gain. In the active group, this is over just a little over a month of study, they lost 2.5 pounds. And if you do the statistics on that, I was thinking with the number of people that we had in the study that might not be able to get statistical significance, but it's called a p-value. And if the p-value is less than 0.05, it's considered to be statistically significant. This is something that's accepted in medical studies around the world. And so with the mathematician that we had to do this for us, calculated all this and said, well, the p-value is 0.00001. So that's about as statistically significant as you can get. I thought we're really onto something here. And the more that I looked at it, the more I learned about it, found out that it's almost everybody that says this is safe. Studies have been done out to 3 months looking to see if there's any evidence of side effects or damage. There's no liver toxicity. There's no kidney toxicity. People say that they can't even tell they're taking it. It's tasteless, odorless. So that you can mix it in any kind of liquid you want. You can go from just coffee to beer, any of these, and you don't change the taste of whatever it is you're drinking. So it's just been one of those things that we're looking at it now. We're making this available, and it's at a price where people can afford it. And I think that it's got the potential to change health for who knows how many people.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about this term adiphyte. I mean, this is kind of like a word that had to be made up based on what these bitter acids are. Can you just talk about what that is? Because people are going to see this and they're going to go, what is that? What does that mean? And so maybe you could just talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's a made up word. Adiphyte is mature hops extract. The product comes from the hops plant. And I think pretty much everybody's familiar with the hops plant. It's used primarily as an additive to beer in the brewing process. It gives beer a taste that's unique and gives slight bitterness to it, and it gives it an aroma. And it's been in use for years, but in the process of using the hops to add to beer, they found that the product that has the extract, the bitter acids, was not what's in the end product of beer. It was a sort of a waste product. So there is some of this in beer, but it's not enough to where you can go out and get a couple of 6-packs and lose weight because you're getting mature hops extract. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of the biochemistry involved here, but the extract, the mature hops extract, the process that we have developed gives us a much more concentrated form of the extract than what has been previously available. And we can do it in a way that's tremendously improved cost effectiveness. That's the way that we can make this at a cost-effective, at a cost that most people can afford. And the way the adiphyte works, at least in part, is that it stimulates a receptor in the intestinal tract, the lining of the intestinal tract, that then activates a nerve called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve comes out of the brain but goes down into the rest of the body. It has a variety of different things that it does. But when it gets to the gut, it's activated by the adiphyte that sends us an impulse, which then goes into the brain, changes to go to a different pathway where the nerves then go to what's called brown fat. And white fat and brown fat are different. White fat is what you see when you look in the mirror. You don't see the fat, you see the skin, but you see the effect of the fat under the skin. And the brown fat is much smaller in volume than white fat in the body. And brown fat is found more in volume in athletes. You'll see a bigger concentration in athletes. You see it more in children. You see less of it as we get older, which is another reason that it's harder to lose weight when you're 80 than it is when you're 8. So brown fat, when it's stimulated, is what causes shivering. So people who get cold will begin to shiver, and this increases what's called thermogenesis. Thermogenesis is where the body starts producing more heat as it's burning more calories. So with what we've done with Adiphyte is that we have been able to get thermogenesis from brown fat without the shivering, without the bitter taste, and you start to lose weight because your body starts to burn those calories. And the place that it gets those calories is white fat.
Wow. So, talk about this product, because, you know, the fixed product has some stabilization stuff in it that we technically don't even need to list because it's so minute. But can you talk about why that is needed in there to keep it fresh and what's happening with it?
Well, that's really what it is. It's it's a natural product. It comes from hops, it comes from a plant, and we wanted to keep the products stable and fresh. And it's called sodium metabisulfite. And if you ever looked at a wine bottle, you'll look on the label on the back. It'll say contains sulfites, and they're talking about sodium metabisulfite. And what that is for is just to simply stabilize the various food items that are in the liquid and keep them from breaking down. There's another one called niacin, which is essentially does the same thing, but it's in such a minute amount that we don't need much to stabilize the compounds. It's such a minute amount. FDA does not even require that this amount be listed on the label. So legally, you could leave it off.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. So the main thing is what it's really doing is it's keeping it fresh where the Adiphyte actually continues to work. Otherwise, it would go stale or go bad if it wasn't in place there.
Right. We know that it's probably stable for at least a year this way. So the people that buy the product, they're not going to put it on the shelf for a year. And,
right.
But we can keep it stable and fresh for a year.
So you talked about what's happening with the activation of the brown fat. So if I hear what you're saying, is there other things out there that activate this? Or if you would tell somebody, maybe let me ask the question like this. So if they would not take this, is doing an ice bath the only way to activate that? Or is there other ways to do it? I mean, ice baths are really painful. I remember playing sports in college, and when I got injured, I'd be in an ice bath, and it was like the most miserable thing I've ever seen. And now we got people doing this because it does create some health results. But boy, it'd be a whole lot easier to snap one of these in my drink, I think. So can you just address that? Is that what's going on here?
Oh, yeah. There are other ways that you can stimulate brown fat to induce thermogenesis. You ever heard of Usain Bolt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Usain Bolt's got a lot of brown fat. And if you would like to become a world-class distance runner and go out and, run 10 miles every morning just to, get yourself going for the day, you can generate a lot of brown fat, which will keep your body pretty lean. So exercise and cold stimulation are the two other main things that you can do. I think it's a lot better to use Adiphyte fix to do this than it is to go out.
Absolutely. I mean, I know there's some people on here, they like to run and do all those things, and so that's all great, but there's a whole lot of people on here, they'd like to get rid of the fat and do it smarter, not harder. And I think this is one of the anomalies of what this product is that it gives you the ability to do it smarter, not harder. And this is a total game changer. So this is really significant on what you're talking about. Can you speak to why, when this goes in an adult beverage, the studies show that it potentially works better? What causes this? Do you have an explanation, or is it like we're not sure? I mean, I'm just curious.
Well, we're really not sure. It just happened that the study that we did, we wanted to make it in a situation that was difficult. We wanted to make it where it was patients that would be hard to lose weight. So what we did was we selected people who said, every weekend I go out and get blasted drunk. I consume a whole lot of alcohol. I go through a lot of beer on weekends. And so everybody's heard of the beer belly. If you consume a lot of beer, it's because you're getting all those calories in the form of carbohydrates. And there's actually very little in the way of the acids that we are trying to get in the pure hops extract. So and other drinks, but not just beer, mixed drinks. And so if your rum and Coke is your thing, if you're drinking a whole bunch of rum and Cokes every weekend, you're not going to be losing weight on that. So we took all of the people that were in our study were heavy drinkers, and we said, put this in the first drink that you take on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we put one dose. It would be essentially the same as a snap of fix, and we put one snap. It wasn't in the fixed container, but so it was just in a little dropper. But you put that in the first drink that you take on Friday, first drink on Saturday, first drink on Sunday. And this is a group that lost 2.5 pounds in just over a month. So we think that, if you're doing it in a group that would be difficult to get to lose weight, it's going to work a lot better in groups that are not difficult.
Yeah, this is amazing. I want to go back to something you said before, because people are looking at some of these studies, like the one that was done in Japan. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things in there, like a 60-page thing over there. But the one thing that you made, I wanted just so people can grasp this and you can confirm it. The concentration level that Fix has and what Trey and his team and you guys have put together is much more concentrated than what was being used in those studies in the past. Is that true? So not only is it more concentrated, but it was a cost-effective way to get access to it.
Yes, the studies that were done in Japan were really groundbreaking in the study of bitter acids and mature hop extract. But the process that they used to get the product required weeks to do a small batch. And it required a technique that had to be very temperature precise. You'd ruin it if you got the temperature off, if you got pressures off, if you didn't use the times exactly right. But it was a very difficult technical process to make. And they still ended up with a extract that was about, I think, 17%. The process that Trey developed, along with his engineer, actually his engineer along with Trey, was able to do this process in a matter of hours rather than weeks, and in an extremely cost-effective way. And that's the reason that the product the Japanese researchers had never was really something that was going to be successfully marketed, because it was too expensive, took too long to make, and just was not going to ever be commercially a sound product to sell. We ended up using our process, getting over twice what they got in the end concentration. So we're over twice the concentration at less cost.
So just as we, I got a couple more questions, and maybe I'll bring some of my buddies on here. They might have something else, but the studies, especially in Japan, they showed that there's a lot of other benefits, and we're really, building and talking about just the fat loss on this, that it's really significant. But you heard from the testimonials, there's some people that are starting to experience other things. Is there anything you could speak to without giving any kind of health claims on, what maybe there are some other side benefits here that people could potentially experience?
There are quite a few studies involving other things that mature hops extract seem to do. Like there's data in rats on cognition. They are able to take rats, and train them to do certain things, and they respond in certain ways. And so they took rats and they were giving them placebo, which would be just water, and they were giving them material hops extract, and they were having them do the same test that would involve short-term memory for them to be able to do. And there was a significant increase in the ability to do these tasks that involved using short-term memory in the rats that were treated with material hops extract. So that's a rat study. There is some data that is in the human literature as well that has to do with vagus nerve stimulation. Vagus nerve stimulation is actually approved by the FDA in the treatment of depression. And there is a surgical procedure that is done to implant a device that stimulates the vagus nerve in patients with clinical depression. And it's essentially doing the same thing that we're seeing from the material hops extract, that we're stimulating the vagus nerve. And so those patients had improvement in depression and mood. So they were feeling better. They were less depressed. And they also noted that it wasn't part of the study that was done, but they noted that they had, better memory. So these are things that are just research studies. We've not done these studies. It's not something that's out there that, a psychiatrist would say, well, I can give you this and make you better. So it's still in the very early stages. So it's that's all still research level. So, one study is not something that you could start treating people with.
So, as we wind this down, I know that you had talked about that you actually had personal experience with using this product. Do you want to just share what your personal experience was?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. We had the product, and my wife and I were going on a cruise ship. Now, I don't know how many people like going on cruises or been on one, but as you probably know, the food selection and availability is abundant is an understatement. And you can't go on a cruise and lose weight. Well, we spent a week on a cruise ship, and I came back and I was 3 pounds less than I was when I started. So, and the only thing I was doing was taking the Adafite. This was before we had the fix label to it, and I was just amazed. And so I kept on taking. I got down 20 pounds, and then we had a technical issue in the plant, and I had to quit taking it, and I didn't start back again. But I'm starting back again. I'm back on fix now. So I'm hoping awesome. I'll drop a few more pounds, because I've been accused of many sins, and some of them I've been guilty of, and one of them is overeating. So
I think, Terry, you have one question you might want to ask if you want to come on here and turn your video on, Terry.
Yeah, thanks so much, Byron. So Doc, I've seen from some of the research that there's some potential anti-inflammatory benefits to fix. And I know inflammation is a big deal in a lot of different issues with people. Is that a correct statement, or is that off the mark?
Again, there are research studies out there that show that material hops extract does have anti-inflammatory process. Again, these are research studies, early stage, but interestingly enough, the one that's probably most pertinent is that they identified a pathway. Again, this was going to be in laboratory animals. It's not in humans, but we think it's going to work the same way. That the material hops extract interferes in 2 sites in the inflammatory process. And one of them is in inhibition of what's called COX-2 enzyme, cyclooxygenase 2, which is a prostaglandin inhibitor. And prostaglandins are hormones that cause inflammation. So in these rat studies, what they found was that it reduced inflammation in the blood vessels. And as you probably know, an atheromatous plaque is one of the biggest risks that you can have for having a heart attack. And if you get the plaque inflamed, that increases the likelihood that you're going to get a clot to form on the plaque, and then that clot can break loose, and that's what a heart attack is. And it also is an interesting byproduct. They found that it reduced inflammatory changes in the brain, and there are strains of mice that actually have been bred to get Alzheimer's disease. And it showed a 20% reduction in the changes in the brain that are associated with the development of the compounds in the brain that form the plaques that are associated with Alzheimer's. So it showed 21% less formation of that. So it may well be, something that might reduce the risk of getting dementia or slow the onset of dementia. Again, this is very early research studies, not something that you can make any kind of claim for, but these were rat studies.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Nice. That's awesome. Just as we wrap this up, and we got a few other things we want to share with folks, so don't leave us because we got some cool stuff we want to talk about yet. But Doc, any parting comments that you would want to share with the audience?
Well, it's just that, I'm a science-oriented guy. I like to see results. I like to see stuff that can be proven. And, I think in Adiphyte fix, we're seeing the results. We've got the data that shows that it shows weight loss, and we've seen other scientific research that is confirming what our hypothesis was, that it's through thermogenesis. The Japanese study that you referenced a little while ago, they actually measured brown fat in the body in the group that was taking the mature hops extract, and they were able to show on CT scans growth in the brown fat. So we know that happens. We know that as you increase brown fat, you increase thermogenesis. As you increase thermogenesis, you increase metabolism of white fat.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Love it. Well, Doc, thank you for coming on here and taking the time. We have been tremendously blessed, a lot of other people as well. And, JD, TK, what do you want to talk about here as we wrap this up? Because we're seeing some amazing growth happen, and we're just grateful Doc came on, and we're grateful for Trey to be on here as a formulator, and Donnie just to share their gift with us that we get to take forward, get to, share it with other folks and improve their life and give them hope. So, Jim, what are some final comments there? Terry, any final comments?
Yeah, real quick, folks, don't leave. I know it'd be tempting to hang up. I'm watching this maxed out Zoom, and I think quick calculation, we've lost about 20 of you. That's not bad on 508, as Byron said. The key here is that to bring this many together at this moment in time is now to take advantage of the quick commercial break, and that is Saturday at 11 a.m. Central, and you've seen this email come out from corporate at Marketplace Global. They've got a lot of updates because this initially was a 10-week plan that was 7 phases, as you've seen in the Zoom. And so that link Saturday, make a note, is going to be mpgzoom.com. That's mpgzoom.com. That is the link. There was 2 links tonight that got you to this room because we redirected the corporate link to our link. Also, we've been running a schedule of 1, 7, and 9 daily Zooms to help you get the word out on this, okay? And we will be, that goes through tomorrow. And then Saturday, we're going to announce, make a note, this is huge. We're going to go to a 1 and 8 Central every day except Sunday. So starting Saturday, it'll be 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. Central, and that ties all this together. And then there's a lot of other things going on in the mix, and we're starting to do team trainings and those type of things. There's just a lot going on behind the scenes. But we want to make sure that you get this, because all night long, Byron, while you were quarterbacking those questions, people are panicking. They're like, my people couldn't get in the Zoom. We got the recording. We're going to post that at Reset and Win, we're the team, just a place we post things. Okay. We're going to post it there. Don't worry about that. We got your back. So don't panic. Okay. But get plugged in, because you're starting to feel, or you should sense from this Zoom, how big this is, right? Because Terry and Byron and I and Brian, we've been doing these Zooms, and a lot of you, especially if you need more facts, we're going as fast as we can, but you ain't seen nothing yet. And Terry, I want to flip it to you and have you speak to that, because you're privy to what's coming, right? So maybe you just want to kind of, take that and then flip it back to Byron. We're done.
Yeah, for sure. I just, the last thing I would say on this is, so we had a lot of people on here tonight. I'm just telling you, Saturday, I'm looking at it as almost a relaunch. It is not. Don't get me wrong. It's not. There's just so much coming on Saturday that it will feel like a relaunch, because of the speed at which people will be able to grow. And so coming out of this, for those of you who are on here and you're looking for something that you maybe can change the rest of your life, the energy that's going to come out of Saturday, guys, we're going to go to a whole new gear. And we've been moving along pretty good. It's about to get way different. And Saturday is going to be the catalyst for that, man. Get everybody you can on that corporate Zoom, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern time, and mpgzoom.com is going to be the place to be. Byron, back to you, bud.
All right. Well, I just want to wrap with this. I just want you to think about, you've been blessed to be on here, and you've been handed a plate of hope that you could give to some other people. And you can choose to hold that to yourself, or you could pass it to someone else. And that hope might just be for them to have better health. It might just be, to burn some of the fat off that they'd love to get away from. But it also might be hope that they can actually change their life financially, because we have that model as well. Now, does it take work and effort? It sure does. But we're watching this happen in real time. And like Terry said, we haven't even scratched the surface. We literally, virtually from day to day, we're doubling the numbers of new people that are joining us. It's like crazy what we're witnessing take place and happen. And it's because of what the two unicorn ideas we have, and then what we have on the backside is a company that's been around. We have the pieces in place to take this globally. We have the merchant accounts around the world. We have the shipping. We have the customer service. We have all these pieces that you've been looking for in a business. And now we have two unicorn horses that we're turning out in the pasture and letting them run. Number one is burn fat smarter, not harder. And the second one is, I could have Diet Jack Daniels if I wanted. I'm not telling you need to. I'm just telling you, these anomalies are going to create a viral movement, and you have a chance to be in front. And you could choose not to, but I personally believe this one might haunt you. This one might haunt you. Why don't you plug into our system? Why don't you come learn what to do? We have a system. We've done this before. We're not rookies on building massive followings of people in a system. We'd encourage you to just tap into what we have in place, so we can take you by the hand and help you win in a significant way. And so 1 and 8 o'clock, we're doing 1, 7, and 9 tomorrow. But what Jim said, then it goes next week, 1 and 8. All right. Saturday's going to be a monster deal. Make sure you tap in on that. We got a bigger Zoom because we're going to need it, boys and girls, because we max this mother out. So with that, we're going to sign off. God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your evening. God bless.